Hi all, this is Priyadharshini working as an assistant professor in the Department of Artificial Intelligence and Data Science. Today we are going to continue with the next topic, that is NoSQL databases. So we all know how the data has persisted. So in 1970 it was very little data. The data was very organized. So then in 1980s the database management systems came into existence. So after some few years later, about 2000 and 2001, the data has enormously grown so much. So then we started using NoSQL. So first we'll see what is the benefit of a relational database system, and then we'll go with NoSQL. So benefits of relational databases, as we all know, it is designed for all purpose thing. It mainly uses the ACID property, that is atomicity, consistency, isolation and durability. It is strongly consistent, concurrent, and also it is easy to recover. It uses mathematical background. Standard query languages are used for querying the ad hoc queries, and the famous tools that we use are reporting services, entity frameworks, etc. So some example SQL databases we all know are MySQL, Oracle, Postgres, SQL, and SQL Azure, TurboDB. All these are the popular SQL service databases we know. So here you will have an example schema in which SQL databases work. So they work in the form of tables. So now we'll see why it is NoSQL. So NoSQL, so the era of distributed computing started. So it is a relational databases here. The NoSQL are used where the relational databases were not built for distributed applications because joins are very expensive. It is hard to scale horizontally. Impedance mismatch, if any impedance mismatch occurs, then if it is very expensive. So they haven't used the relational database management system. And it is weak in speed, highly available, and partition tolerance also is not accepted in relational database management system. So why NoSQL? So there is massive amount of data, connectivity is more, P2P knowledge, concurrency, diversity, cloud grid, everything came into existence which related in massive amounts of data. So let us see what is NoSQL. So NoSQL means it is not only SQL. You have to remember it is not only SQL. So a NoSQL database provides a mechanism for storage and retrieval of data that employs less constrained consistency models than traditional relational database. These are also referred to as not only SQL to emphasize that they do in fact allow SQL like query languages or to also can be used. So now SQL avoids overhead of ACID transaction, complexity of SQL queries, database administrator presence, burden of upfront schemas to be used, transactions. So it is also provide easy and frequent changes in the database. It is faster deployment. Larger data volumes can be used. For example, you can even take data from Google. It is schema-less. The biggest advantage is schema-less. So the examples of NoSQL databases are Apache HBase, Cassandra, React, CouchDB, MongoDB, Neo4j, Redis. When and when not to use it. So we'll see when not. So if it is financial data, or if we are using business critical data, or if the data is requiring strict ACID compliance, you cannot use NoSQL. In other cases, you can use NoSQL. So who are all the major big competitors or the big companies that uses NoSQL are Google, Yahoo, LinkedIn, eBay, Netflix, Amazon, Facebook. All these big giants use NoSQL. So first we'll see the feature of NoSQL. I told you the schema-less is the biggest advantage. So in relational databases, if you want to add a record which does not fit into the schema, it is very difficult. If you need to add nulls to unused items in a row, if we used to consider the data types, you cannot add a string to an integer field, you cannot add multiple items in a field, you should create another table like primary key, foreign key, joins, non, you have to use all those kinds stuffs. So to all those stuffs we can use the another integrated model is NoSQL databases. So here there is no schema to consider, there is no unused cell itself, you can just omit it. There is no implicit data types defined. Most of considerations are done in application level layer itself. We can gather all the items in an aggregate document. So NoSQL databases are generally classified into 4 data models. It is key value, document, column family and graph. Have a look into what is key value, what is column family, graph and document. So key value. So key value store, the example includes Redis or React, wide column store, that is column wide store. Databases are HBase, Cassandra. Document store types are supported by MongoDB and CouchDB. And for graph, for example for Facebook applications, you can use graph store models.